Okay. Yeah, you can see the lattice work's a little bit newer. See if I can get the street sign right quick. It's right there. Elm and 10th Street in Blessing, Texas. This is our trip to Bountiful.
Yeah.
Talking to Nora Bremser. Gonna get her on live I-13 action camera.
Of course, we used to have some barns back there that aren't there now.
Right.
And Mother always had a garden.
This is the house that Nana was born in. What year were you born?
1970.
1917.
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know that.
March the 7th, 1917.
Okay. And you were the first, second, or third child?
I was the third. I was the, let's see, there's Eve, Noah, Glenn. I was the fourth child.
Okay.
Fourth child.
All right.
And Glenn was 3 years old when I came along. Mama took him seriously.
So he was out to get his little baby sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how many children were there all together?
5.
And then Jack was the youngest, and he's okay.
He was the baby.
All right.
And I, even with the 5 children I had, and I've seen some mighty cute babies, I still say he was the prettiest baby I've ever seen, little newborn baby.
Oh, really?
He had a lot of dark curly hair, and his eyelashes just swooped down over his eyes. They were just really, really beautiful.
Sounds like you were in love with him.
Turn that way. He was my love from the moment I looked at him, I guarantee you.
Well, you know, ever since I was little, I remember Mom, the picture of him up there, and one day, and I suppose I was probably about 11,
Yeah.
and I asked her, who's this a picture of? And she said it was her Uncle Jack. And didn't he die in the Battle of the Bulge?
Yes. Some people by the name of Hudson's used to live there
Okay.
in that house, and it's shaped just the same. It's painted differently because it was white, I guess, in those days. But it's a neat looking old house.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it really is. It's a nice looking house, I think.
I would love to own a home like that.
And look at that old wicker on the porch. I love wicker.
That suits the old house.
Uh-huh. Just right for an old home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember the name of the people, and I think he was a druggist that had this house over here. And he had a drugstore.
Which house?
He was a druggist. That house over there.
Okay, that you liked?
Yeah. And but they just let
Looks-
it go down.
Yeah, it looks like it's quite unowned at this point.
Yeah. Well, I don't think. It doesn't look to me like it's occupied. Even the windows are out.
Right.
I think it's, they've got a mobile home behind there. Let's see, you can turn, yeah, you can turn here and go by Grandpa and Grandma. See, we just didn't live far from Grandpa and Grandma.
Okay.
And Daddy's youngest sister lived here with her family.
Okay.
She lived in that house.
You didn't catch me in time. I almost passed it up.
Yeah, Aunt Clara and Uncle Harry Bland.
Aunt Claire and Uncle Harry Bland lived there. Okay.
And later on, they moved out to Salt Lake City.
Oh, they.
He was an insurance inspector, worked for a big insurance company, and he inspected the places that they insured.
Oh, okay.
But I tell you, that attic is fascinating in that big old house there.
It looks neat.
And this would be
It
your
has
grandparents' house.
nice stairs that goes up to the attic from the second floor, and there's lots of room in that attic.
Get over on my side of the road.
Lots of room in that house.
Yes, and it used to have the prettiest hedge all the way around it. And Grandpa had a big garden on the back side and a garden over on the side over here. And of course, he had a big three-holder toilet out in the back.
Oh.
And that was always kept so neat and clean. And he kept lime in a bag in there with a cup. And you were supposed to, when you used it, you were supposed to lime it.
Supposed to lime
so
it.
it didn't smell.
Okay. And I guess it was a 3-holder toilet.
Yeah,
Was that a pretty big deal?
Oh yeah, well, that's a big one.
No, I guess that was the talk of the town.
Well, no, there wasn't any houses over here, and there's a little church right down here, Robert.
Okay, well, let's go by there.
And now that house has these big, see how the posts are on the outside? Well, it has posts between what they call the entrance hall and the living room, and between the living room and the dining room.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
And what gets me is that you see a young kiddo playing on the porch
Yeah.
still to this day.
Yeah.
That house has had some serious
But it
usage.
had such beautiful plantings around it, though,
Mm-hmm.
that did a lot for it. You know, it
Okay.
makes a big difference in the yard.
Right.
But this is the little Presbyterian church we used to go to.
Oh, now you used to be a Presbyterian?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were born and raised Catholic, or was that only when you met
No,
Granddaddy?
that's when I met your grandfather. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
What do you remember about that church? Anything in particular?
Well, I just went to church there, Sunday school and church.
Got any good church stories?
Nope.
Oh, come now.
No, I don't have any good church
You're
stories.
bound to have been dragged out of church at least one Sunday by your ear.
No, not me. I always behaved.
Were you a pretty good girl?
Well, certainly, you know that. I was afraid not to be.
Did you have a fire and brimstone preacher?
Well, I don't even remember anything about the preachers. I really do not, Robert.
I guess that was pretty long ago.
Mhm.
She may
Now-
have had a fire and brimstone father, see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
You
made her a
can,
good girl.
you can take the left here.
Okay, yeah, I do want to capture the Pierce house.
Yeah, we'll go back to
and
it.
yeah, give a quick story now on Shanghai Pierce. I mean, just in general, what
Well,
was...
Shanghai did not ever lived in Blessing,
Okay,
but he helped name Blessing.
okay.
It was named a Blessing. And I don't know if you know it, but the sidewalks used to run a long ways down here. Now you need to turn here, and I can tell you some more as we go.
Okay.
But you need to know that there were sidewalks that ran a long way past the Pierce home,
Uh-huh.
and they had planned that this was going to be quite a city, and they laid sidewalks all over the place.
And sidewalks were supposed to help the city
And
grow.
well, to promote people buying lots. You see,
I see.
they would have the sidewalks that would be improved.
Yes.
And Grandpa used to own from his home
Mhm.
clear down to this street, and so he owned quite a piece of land here.
In Shanghai, was he like a cattle baron, a
Oh, yes.
land rustler? Did he
And
get into oil, or?
Well, his land, principally his real important land, is out by Pierce, Texas. You know, on the way to El Campo from Wharton.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the old Pierce home. And Miss Pierce had these 3 boys, and she was one of the first ladies to drive the car, you know,
Mhm.
her own car. And so she took a riding quirt in the car with her.
Okay.
If the boys started here,
Uh-huh.
the whole thing goes with this. And if the boys started misbehaving, she'd use the quirt on them. She'd stop the car, get them out, and dress them down, and put them back in.
Just kind of fix them up right quick.
Yep, right quick.
A little
She
attitude
did.
adjustment?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to capture, you've got a hysterical marker out here I want to get. And this right here is what happens when you hit 75 years old. You get you a Toyota Camry and you start becoming a hot sports car mama. She claims it's not a sporty car, but I happen to think it's a nice little car.
Well, it's here. See where that area of oak trees are down there? The
Right.
sidewalks used to run clear up there because when I'd be over here in the summertime, well, Dorothy Duller and I would walk way down here, and we'd walk on the sidewalk.
Man had a lot of big plans, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to me like he owned some land from darn near Austin all the way to Matagorda, didn't he?
Well,
I mean, just a whole lot of land.
yeah, a lot of land, and down at Collegeport,
Okay.
down by Citrus Grove and Collegeport, and this Jonathan Pierce had a lot of land down at Collegeport. Part of the time he was at Collegeport, and then this A.B. Pierce was Jonathan's son.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't Shanghai's son. He was Jonathan Pierce's
Now,
son.
Jonathan is like
A.B.'s brother.
okay.
He was the financial man of the two,
Okay.
and Shanghai was more roughshod and cattle driving and all this.
Seemed like he was a pretty violent man at times too.
He was.
Had quite a
Yeah.
reputation that preceded him.
Yeah. You can go on down and we might be able. Now I don't know, but I think there's some sidewalk. Janice, see there? The grass is nearly covering it. Yeah, we used to walk right down on this sidewalk, clear on down here. And you can see it here, out here with the trees. Yeah.
Seems like I recall when I was pretty little, y'all came out and told me the story. I couldn't remember the town, but I always remembered that we went someplace and we talked about how the sidewalks had been planned for a big city that never happened.
Yeah, right. This was it. This was it. I guess we have to turn around here, Robert.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we do.
But I guess the sidewalks went all the way out in this area.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
They're probably just buried out here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Not much to see but an empty field now.
Yep. But that's the way it was. It just didn't. The highway, when the highway came in, the new highway from Palacios to Bay City, it killed Blessing, see. And I know some people by the name of Pickle used to live down here somewhere.
No, that's a name I would like to have.
Yeah, they had a pretty good sized home, if I remember rightly. I think it was right in those trees. Yeah, somebody's even got looks like a basketball and tennis court back in there or something. Volleyball or something. So we might turn down that way. I haven't been that far down in years and years.
All right, let's go down and see.
Yeah, I don't recall too much about this Pickle home. And it's going to be a dead end here, too.
That's all right. I imagine you used to come out here and pick some grape. Did you ever take grape leaves and try to smoke them thinking you're cool?
No, I got some. Yeah, that's the old Pickle house there. I think you can turn around.
Yeah.
Pull whichever way you want to pull around.
Okay.
Well, they got a lot of squirrels, I'll tell you that.
Sure do, and I love the big old trees out here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm kind of glad we took your car in there because it's much smaller than ours.
Don't miss the bridge.
Oh, I'm not. Much smaller than ours and much easier to turn around in.
Yeah.
Our car was, we would not be making those corners like that very easily.
No, I've always just loved this home of Grandpa's. See, there were four big bedrooms upstairs
Mm-hmm.
and the bathroom, and then downstairs was the big, what they call the entrance hall that you went in from this side of the house when you went off of this street up the front sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
And then the entrance hall, of course, the stairway was there, and you could go up and onto a landing and then down into the kitchen on the stairway. Or you could go up that way upstairs.
Okay. I guess since you came up here and stayed with your grandparents during the summer, was there, I guess there was like just one general store downtown?
Yeah.
And,
no, listen, at the time we moved from here, there even used to be a shoe store.
Oh, really?
And I picked out, Mama said I picked out the pair of shoes I wanted in the window. I saw them in the front window before we got in the store, and there were some little black patent leather slippers. And she said if those hadn't have fit, she doesn't know what I'd have done, because I just had my mind just set on them. And now we always had a Christmas tree as you went in this front door in what they call the entrance hall. And we had a Christmas tree in that room, in the corner of it. And then you went into the living room, formal living room, and then you went into the dining room from that. But now this little small window that you see here,
which one?
Right off the little back porch there.
Yeah.
You know, that is on the landing of the stairs.
Okay.
A small window. And Grandpa had a big garden that extended down to the end of the block, nearly right out there.
When you stayed here during the summers, I bet it was always kind of a treat to go to the store. Did they have anything like frozen? I mean, any sort of ice cream or anything cold?
Sure, we had a soda fountain down there.
Okay.
Sure.
And what was your favorite thing to go get? Like a Coke float, or?
I don't even remember that. I don't know that we had Coke back then. I guess we did. I guess we had Coca-Cola.
I'm sure Coca-Cola was around by then.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, I'm trying to think. Yeah, there were some people that I just loved them. They had moved down here from Kansas, I believe. And they used to have a home right on the corner there. It's gone, and the brick home's there. Now you better go back uptown.
Okay. Did you ever have a bicycle when you were growing up in this area?
I never had a bicycle in any area.
Oh, period, huh?
Period.
Okay.
In fact, to this day, I don't know how to ride a bicycle.
Oh, no kidding.
No bicycle. And this is the big Catholic church, but I don't even remember having a Catholic church here when I was little. Probably was here. Now you could turn left, and that'll take you down to where you can go and see the front of the hotel.
Until school just let out.
I believe so. Looks like it at least.
Yeah. This is probably the last day of school, either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I imagine they may have school tomorrow. I don't know.
How often did y'all go back to school, or go to school when you're growing up? Now, did you go, you want to go straight? Okay. Did y'all go?
Oh, no, there's the hotel.
That's what
I'm boo-booed on that.
That's
but
all
we
right.
can go around and see it from the back and the side.
All right. Did y'all go, did y'all already have the traditional summer months off, or did you have to stop for like planting and harvesting, or?
We had the traditional summer months off.
Okay.
Now you could turn right here.
I've heard some stories of, you know, how schools used to be kind of geared around the crops.
Well, we didn't
Naturally.
start too early in the fall. It was always at least the middle part of September before school started.
And that gave you a chance to harvest, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the new little post office in Blessing right down there.
Okay, I can see
The brick building down
No,
there.
it looks just like a regular house.
No, you mean the one, the one with the blast in the front, yeah, that's it. Now down there is a house that's kind of unusual. It's made out of kind of like concrete blocks, but that's really not what it is. I don't know what they call those kind of blocks. But that's
Cinder blocks?
That's been there since I was a little girl. That house has. If it's still here. I don't know if it's still here. Here it is, right here. See that gray right
Sure
there?
enough.
It's very neat looking too, isn't it?
It sure is.
And you could go.
Yeah, I'll come back, sneak around behind the hotel.
Yeah. Uncle John used to live in that house, and my favorite cousin of all lived there.
And what was her name?
That's Arthur David White. My favorite cousin.
Okay. Well, I said what was her name? It was a he. I said.
It was a he.
Yeah, I was thinking of a female cousin.
No, he was my favorite, even between the females and so forth.
Okay. I guess y'all did a lot of running around.
When I'd come over in the summertime, we'd have good times together.
Did you ever go out and get in trouble?
No, I don't think so. They used to every once in a while have what they called a Chautauqua would come to town.
Uh-huh.
And this Chautauqua had, they'd always pitch a tent, big tent.
Okay.
And they'd put up a stage and they'd have their performances, plays and so forth.
Was it just
now, I don't know if the
strictly
railroad station is still down here or not, but if it is, it's down to the left.
Okay.
But I'm thinking it's gone.
We're gonna find out. Now, Chautauqua, was that strictly an entertainment value, like a circus type, or?
No, it was plays.
Okay, what? Okay, but it wasn't a
They
religious.
would have stage plays.
I see. It wasn't a religious crusade or anything like that.
Look, see, there's the railroad, but I don't think the station's there anymore.
Well, the train's still going these days.
And this is the same. We had the Blessing Lumber Company. The time I was growing up.
And where would the train station would have been?
Well, just go on and I'll show you. It was, it's not here though now, I don't believe, but it would have been right over there. Where they've got this big old electric tower or something. And I'll tell you, it scared me so bad, Dad loved, because he had worked for the trains and for railroad, and he'd take me up real close, and the train would get ready to pull out, you know, and the steam would start coming out, and they'd blow the whistle. Oh God, I just practically wet my pants. I just knew it was going to get me.
Scared you to death.
Something was going to get me. Yeah, and I always had the feeling it was going to suck me right under the wheels.
Ah, get run over then.
Yeah, you could turn around anywhere you want to. This just goes on, and there's not much to it. But I hate it that they've torn down all the old stations.
Yeah, I don't suppose they had much use for it after Blessing started dying down.
No.
Seemed like Granddaddy, I can recall him doing some business with the railroads when he unloaded quite a bit of feed, and nowadays when you drive behind the old feed mill there, it's nothing there, just...
No, they don't even, I don't believe they use that track anymore even. But now there wasn't this side line. The depot was right up next to the tracks, just a very little space between. Grandma Sadie rented out rooms upstairs in that big house down there, and one was rented out to Mr. Shep. We call him Mr. Shep. That's all I know. And he stayed in the southwest bedroom. That was his room. And this used to be a bank right here.
Straight ahead on the left?
Yeah, that was the bank. Blessing State Bank. And now Susie's daddy had a drugstore on the corner in this building.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And it was the kind that had these little tables and the little soda fountain chairs, you know, at the tables, and then had the big soda fountain.
All right.
In fact, at the time that I was born, Susie was working here in the drugstore for her daddy.
And where was the drugstore at exactly?
Right here in the corner.
Just in the corner of this building?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That was it. Yeah. And then this big old hotel is Blessing Hotel.
This is across the street here?
And the Pierces built that, yeah. And let me tell you, someday if you're ever through here at noon,
Mm-hmm.
you can go right up that sidewalk over there and go into a restaurant to eat.
Okay.
And they serve good food. It's good
Do
old
they?
home cooking meals.
I'm gonna remember that.
Blessing Hotel Coffee Shop.
Yeah.
Huh?
Come earlier one day and just go.
Yeah. And the first time that I ate there, this has been numbers of years ago, they used to, when they first opened it up back there, they used to serve off the stoves. You go back there and serve yourself out of these big old pans.
Huh.
That's an old-fashioned way of doing that.
Yeah. And
Boy,
Then bring your food out into the dining area and sit there and eat.
tell you, health regulations wouldn't let you even start to do something like that nowadays.
No, I don't guess so. But that was funny. Now they have restored this hotel to the extent that they're renting out rooms now.
Very good. Do you have any idea who's in charge of doing that?
Well, it's the oldest of A.B. Pierce's.
Okay, so it's still in the
Children.
family then?
Yeah, it's still in the family.
Very good.
It's still in the Pierce family. Sure is.
And do you recall what used to be along here besides the coffee shop or soda shop
No.
behind us?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But back in the next block, there's so many buildings that are down. Mr. Dollar had a store,
Yeah.
a grocery store back there. And then Grandpa and Grandma bought that store building, and they had a dry goods store there.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma Sadie and Grandpa Charlie. And there was a barber shop back there, and the shoe store. So there's quite a few stores.
And then these you don't recall.
No, no, I don't. This, for one thing, this used to be a tractor company here for a while.
Ah.
It was a grocery store on the corner here,
Mhm.
and then it turned into a big old tractor company.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, I imagine there was a need for tractors at one
Yeah.
time. I guess there's still enough farming around here for that to.
But I really don't know when all these things came about, actually, because I was away from here for a long time. Now, if you want to, we can go out to the Holly Cemetery.
Okay. And you say you
But have
moved.
to go back this way.
Right. You say you moved away from Blessing when you were 5? And did y'all move right into that house there that I recall, that H.I. and
Oh, no, we were down, we moved different places on the rice farm.
Okay.
The first house we moved into on the rice farm, there were 2 houses that were built just alike. There wasn't a lot of space, there was, just a nice yard between them.
Uh-huh.
But, and this is the community center here,
Right.
Blessing Community Center.
And I suppose that y'all moved for, work reasons. I mean, your dad,
Oh, yeah.
and he was working on a rice farm then?
He went to rice farm, yes.
And who was he working for, do you recall?
Well, he was in rice farming. You're really on your own. Only you have what they call your financier, see,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't finance all that just to start off with.
Right.
Your machinery and everything, and
In other words, the creditor.
and you lease land to farm. Now this is the building here that Grandpa and Grandma had as a dry goods store.
Okay. I didn't have time to slow down for that one.
But out this way, I really don't know much about this, but this is the Masonic Lodge. I do know that. That's all I know about this Masonic Lodge.
Was your father or grandfather a member of Masonic Lodge?
Grandfather wasn't, I don't believe. He belonged to Woodman of the World.
Woodman of the World?
I have some old relatives
Yeah.
who were woodsmen of the world.
I've
Yeah,
never heard
They
of
have
that.
tombstones that were like a little tree trunk and had a
And-
little squirrel running around.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, he had Grandpa had it was like a hatchet, and it was painted in gold, and it had kind of an emblem up over it that said Woodman of the World. And I think, I don't know who has that, whether Eve has it or whether Glenn has it. Or whether Uncle John got it, I just don't know.
I suppose do you recall anything about the Woodsmen of the World as far as what they did, their mission?
No, they had insurance with them, I know that. That
Okay.
was an insurance, but it was a society. It was a men's club or society, don't you think too?
Yeah,
Janice?
because I just remember old graveyard that my grandmother
Now
took
you
me
have to
to,
turn this way.
and it had tombstones that said Woodsman of the World.
Yeah.
And they were relatives of our.
They were kind of like, let's see, like the Lions Club or something like that.
More of
only,
a men's social club,
only-
basically?
Yeah, it was a social, but it was an insurance group. And
Did they do any benevolent works for the
I
community?
imagine that they did. I just didn't know that much about it because I wasn't that old
Okay.
to know those kind of things.
But I imagine they didn't, I'm sure it was secretive, and they didn't say a whole lot to the ladies.
Well, I don't know whether it was secretive or not. I just know it was.
I mean, in the
just a
same
man
sense
thing.
that Masonic Lodge is, the order and the secrecy is kept
Yeah.
very, it's very much a private thing. They don't come home and tell your wife just
That's
whatever.
right. That's right.
So it wouldn't have been anything you would have been exposed to real well.
No.
Do you recall, how old were you when they moved into that house that I can remember in Bay City?
Oh, let's see. I believe we moved there in 1929.
Oh, so y'all were there a good long time then.
Yeah. We were still on the rice farm out north of Bay City on the Pierce Estate Ranch, and they called it McCroskey. And we were out there at the time that my sister Nola graduated from high school.
Okay.
And then in that summer, I believe in the course of that summer is when we moved into Bay City to the house that you remember.
Okay. And what, do you remember when it was that H.I. quit doing the rice farming and went, I believe he went into the lumber business? Or was there a business in between?
Well, he didn't go into the lumber business right away. It was about that time that he quit rice farming in 1929. And we had a real bad Gulf storm that wiped us out financially. And he decided to go into contract work.
Okay.
And this contract work existed of building shell roads and also building bridges.
Okay.
That was what his contract work was.
I believe the cemetery road is up here on the left.
Yes, it'll be up here in just a little bit. And but anyway, he didn't go into the business until I was about a junior or senior in high school when he started in. But he started in principally, yeah, right back this way. He started in principally with pouring concrete and having tiles and bridge culverts and things like this.
Right.
And then it just evolved into lumber. And
I see. And that would be kind of what led him into the lumber then. Is
Mhm.
start getting contact and he saw a need.
mhm.
And when he passed away, was he still in control of the lumber company?
No, I believe that they had, at the time he passed away, they had already sold the lumber company to Mr. Townsend's for his grandsons to run, to operate.
Okay.
And I'm glad that they did. It was a good move.
Right, so it wouldn't be a burden to the family.
But I had 10% of the lumber business at one point. And Brother Glenn had 40%, and my daddy had 50%, which gave him the controlling interest.
Right.
And my brother Glenn wanted to have an equal interest. He wanted Daddy to give some of his interest to him. And so, in order to keep peace, I gave Glenn my 10%.
Now there was a Wearden Grocers. I used to see the trucks go around here. Was that any connection with?
No, not any connection with my daddy. No, it was Lawrence's relatives.
Okay.
Lawrence's uncle, his Uncle Joe.
How did you and Granddaddy meet?
Well, let's see now. He had there was a girl that worked for the Nora Wearden Company, and she lived in an apartment with Lawrence's cousin, girl cousin, Mary, Uncle Joe's daughter.
Okay.
And so Murtis kept wanting Lawrence to meet me. She and I were in the church together, in Presbyterian church and young people's meetings, and she wanted wanted us to meet.
Right.
And she kept telling him that she wanted us to meet, but somehow we just never could put it together. And then I was at a dance one night with a Bay City man, and I was up at New Gulf dancing, the New Gulf Clubhouse. Turn around this way, and anyway. Lawrence had a date with a girl from Bay City, and then Murtis had a date with this man, and they were sitting out listening to the music. So my date and I came out. She couldn't drink in the clubhouse at New Gulf, and I didn't drink any alcohol at the time, but this man wanted to go out and get a drink. So we went out, and so somebody hollered at me, and it was Murtis, and she wanted me to come over and meet Lawrence. So she introduced us. Honey, that was Shanghai Statue.
Right. I was hoping to find a place to rent a
Well,
park.
it's pretty wet here.
I guess you just stop.
I think you just stop. I don't think anybody's going to crowd us.
No, it doesn't look too terribly busy. It does look awful wet, but I am gonna.
I think you could go up there and go across maybe to find a little, not in the car. You could
Right.
find a little high spot to walk over there.
I even see some old stones that on.
Having an awfully wet year. Gonna sink up to my knees in mud if I don't watch where I'm going. I can recall my mother bringing me here. We stood here and pumped this old well for the longest time. And it actually worked back then. Gave it a good shot, and it's not working anymore. Why doesn't that surprise me? A.H. Pierce. Very powerful, influential man for his days.
And he said, well, I'm sure you have your plot out here. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, you don't? You don't know where you're going to be buried? I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. I'm not even thinking of it.
Well, and even if you did, it's really not any of his business
No.
at a time like that.
Huh.
Whose funeral were we there for?
I don't even remember now whose funeral it was, but anyway, I didn't, he was a man that didn't appeal to me at all, and so I just turned him off. But I was telling Janice, I said, actually there's room for me in the city cemetery where Lawrence and Mike are both buried, and Mr. and Ms. Wearden, and I'm just not sure where I want to be buried. I think there's room in the plot that Arthur has, so I don't know.
How old were you when your mama died?
I was, guess I was 29 when Mama died.
Okay.
And I hadn't had Mike, you know, and I wasn't pregnant for him because I had him when I was 30. So when I got pregnant for Mike, I thought, I just don't know how I'm going to do this without Mama.
Yeah.
I had never had a baby without Mama. And so I just didn't know how I was going to do it, but I did.
And what took her life?
It was brain cancer.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever studied up on it, Robert, but I think it's possible. I think Mama did this. She always worked like a man, and she wanted a stump taken up out of the yard when we had moved to Bay City. Oh, we had been there quite a long time, but she wanted that stump taken up, and she had one of these long prying bars.
Yeah.
And she had chopped and dug and everything around the roots, and she was running this prying bar in under the roots and put a lot of pressure on it, and something slipped and it came up and hit her right up over the eye here.
Okay.
And I remember she had a horrible looking eye for quite a while. And I don't know if a bruise can cause a cancer or not.
I don't know. My first reaction is to say no. But there's not enough known about cancer, to be honest with you, as far as to what causes
And that's
it.
right. That's right in the area where she had the inoperable cancer. At the time, they said it was inoperable.
And what year was that?
In
It's about
let's
46.
yeah, 46.
Okay. I just took 29 and 17.
Mm-hmm. Are you wanting to go through Bay City?
Sure.
All right. Well, then we'll go across and go that way.
Now, are you running this all while you're driving?
I'm letting it tape her voice.
Okay, the only reason I say that is when you get on the highway, it's a little scary to me to see you jumping.
Can you
There's a big old home back in there, but I don't know a lot about I know the name of the people that used to have it. Their name was Dottie, but I don't know too much about the home now. But I thought it was pretty the way they planted these trees that led up to the home.
Right. I have noticed that because it was they are rather prominent nowadays, because when you go down the middle of the drive, they cover the drive up. It's very beautiful.
See, the house is 2-story. I've
Right.
been in that house. I was in there at a tea or something one time.
Okay. Can you remember any? Because I know that there's been, some major Gulf storms. Like, where were you during Celia or Carla? Were you?
Carla and Celia, both of us in Glen Flora.
Okay, y'all didn't have to. I guess y'all wouldn't have to go any further inland than that. That was far enough inland.
I'll tell you, Carla was bad in Glen Flora because we were without electricity for 5 days.
That's a pretty good while.
And let's see, Patrick was born in 58, and that was 61. Yeah.
Okay. And were there any big hurricanes when you were a kid or something like that that
Yeah.
you can remember?
Yes, there was hurricanes, but I don't. Well, the one in 1929 was the one that ruined my daddy's rice crop.
Was that
The
Beulah?
rice, the rice was, no, I don't even know the name of it. No, Beulah was much later. But his rice was standing, he could walk out in the rice, and it was covered his hat. And his financier came down from Houston, and he said, hi. He said, I sure wish you would go ahead and start cutting that rice. And Daddy said, well, I'm going to start on Monday. And this was during the middle of the week before the man told him that.
Uh-huh.
And he said, well, I'm beginning to get nervous about it. And Daddy said, well, I've drained all the fields, and by Monday I ought to be able to get in to start cutting it. Because see, back in those days, you had the rice cutters, and then you bound it. You had to bind it,
Right.
and let it lay there, and then you had the men that came along and stacked it. They put it in stacks,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe they call them shocks. They put it in shocks,
Okay.
and then it went through a drying process in the shocks, and then you would take it and put it through the threshing machine,
Okay.
and the rice would come out. You'd have the sacker standing there, and the sack would fill up with rice, and it'd be shooting the hay from the rice. The rice stalks out through a big old pipe into a big mound,
Mm-hmm.
rice stack.
When that hurricane came,
It laid them flat. It laid the rice, just laid it flat to the ground.
how much notice did y'all have that a hurricane was actually coming?
We didn't really have much notice, Robert, and we were educated in feeling how the wind felt,
Right.
and you just knew pretty well it was coming.
But how much time, I mean, could y'all tell that it was a hurricane, not just an average storm? I mean, when did y'all know that something bad was going to happen?
We didn't know the velocity of it or anything. They didn't give us any warnings. In fact, we didn't have a radio. We did not own a radio until after we had lived in Bay City for quite a while.
So I guess pretty much when it just started just raining real bad, the wind blowing,
blowing, raining. Yeah.
you just kind of sat back in and just.
Yeah, you knew you had it. There wasn't anything you could do.
And I suppose if you didn't have enough rations to last for a couple of days, you just were out of luck.
Oh, we always had enough. Mama used to make when it'd be harvest season. She'd maybe make 150 or 200 biscuits for breakfast. We had to feed the hands, see.
Right.
And
Boy, she was quite a cook then.
Mama was quite a woman, I would tell you. And then she would fix up at the noon, she'd fix up the big pans, big pots of things, and they'd come in and get them with the truck and transport them out to where they were working on the feed.
I imagine her kitchen was hot, hot, hot.
Yeah. Yeah, we always had chicken, so Mama would, have bacon or sausage and eggs and biscuits and make some gravy to go with it. Feed a good breakfast before they went out and started work.
About how many hands did you have?
Oh, there were, and then some though that we had. Some of the hands that worked would be on a contract basis. Say a Mexican man would come and bring a big crew in there.
Right.
And so we didn't cook for them. But if we had some staying around in the barn in different places, sleeping around, why Mama would cook for them. They were generally white men.
Uh-huh.
And but we had this one Negro boy that would come to work with several of the other niggers in the morning, and we'd feed them. And he didn't know how to say any kind of food but potatoes and beans and bread. Bread, he meant. We call it bread. And tatties, beans, and bread. And Mama had good old chicken and dumplings that she took out to the field one day. And so he came back 2 or 3 times for helpings. He wanted some more potatoes and beans and bread.
Just wanted to eat.
Just didn't know what else to call it.
Huh.
We used to laugh about that dumb guy. He just didn't know the difference.
The Tool Park up here in Bay City.
Yeah.
Is that I know that's related somehow.
That's where I used to park with boyfriends.
What's that little sly grin on your face?
I remember Lawrence and I were out there parked one night, and this old guy we called Shorty, that was the night watchman, he came around and flashed the flashlight right in the car.
Uh-huh.
He used to break up many a kissing session.
So Tool Park is around for quite a while.
Oh yeah. In fact, when we were in high school, a bunch of usually especially junior, senior year, we girls would fix up our lunch. We'd get some weenies and different stuff, you know, each one putting some on it, and we'd walk out here to Tool Park, and we'd play around on the trees and just enjoy the park. Later on, we'd hike back to town, and maybe say a man that drove a bread truck or something like that would pick us up, and that was safe enough then. You know,
Right.
nothing ever happened to us.
Didn't have to worry
Wouldn't
about
work
it.
now.
Now that we're coming up on Bay City, why don't you start pointing out, you know, places to go?
Well, this is Tool Park here.
All right.
But it's just a park area, and the country club.
Big, beautiful oak trees.
Yes, they are.
Give me some instructions when we get up here where I should turn to, if you can remember various places where you lived. You know, locations of them?
I know. We only lived 2 places in Bay City.
Okay.
When we first moved up to the rice farm,
Uh-huh.
we couldn't get into, the house wasn't completed that we were going to live in out on the rice farm by McCroskey. So we stayed in town in a 2-story home. We rented it. And in fact, it was a big 2-story home, and some of the rooms were even shut off upstairs and locked because they still had a bunch of furniture in there, people that owned it.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking that the people had died and the heirs had not done anything about it yet. They just rented out part of it. But I guess we stayed there for, I don't know. You know, time seems different to kids, but I'm thinking it was about a year, but it might have only been a part of the year.
Okay.
But of course, all of this used to be just nothing but prairie out here, and trees and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the old river bridge was down close to where the railroad bridge goes across the river.
Can you recall when they started, I guess it was the Army Corps of Engineers coming through and dynamiting the river and breaking up the log raft, the log jam?
We lived down on the rice farm at McCroskey then, at that time. Yeah. Well, that's when they dynamited, when Wharton area dynamited that big log raft and jam, big log jam, because it was holding the water, the flood waters and the river waters. It was holding it off of Bay City, but it was holding it back into Wharton.
Okay.
It was down around Lane City, and they blew that thing.
Do you recall anything about them blowing it? I mean, was that ever anything that was...
Well, there were big threats and everything of what people were standing guard with guns and all, but I don't remember. I don't think there were any fatalities or anything like that happened.
What were the threats related to?
Well, because Bay City did not want that dam to be blown, because then the water would come down on Bay City.
I gotcha.
And Horton wanted it blown because it was holding it back, pushing water back into the town of Horton.
I gotcha. Did Bay City ever get any floods as a result? I mean,
Oh yeah. Bay City used to be flooded. I can show you where it used to flood. I don't remember the square part of it, whether it was on the square or it wasn't, but it flooded.
Am I headed in the right general direction to go towards some of the places where you lived? Or?
Yes, I'll show you in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you can keep going. See, now this is a museum now. It used to be our post office.
Okay. I'm gonna do the same thing I did a minute ago.
And $250 in percentage, it gave it to the museum
How long ago was that?
after Sister Nola died.
Okay.
I did that in memory of Sister Nola.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was because Eve decides when she and Lanny were up for Nola's funeral in Illinois, she decided, she came up with the fact that everybody should give $250 in memory of Sister Nola. Well, she expected each one of my children to come up with $250, which was 4 times 250,
Right.
and me to come up with 250. And so she said, and I said, well, of course that would be up to the children. And you know how she gets on this, and she said, no, it is the only thing that's the right thing to do, since Nola is leaving this money to them. And so I said, well, it's still their business as far as I'm concerned. And she said, well, I will write each one of them a letter to this effect. And I said, Eve, you will not write my children a letter. I said, I will tend to my children, and you stay out of it.
Did she ever write the letters?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
And boy, I was mad though, because I'll tell you, all of my life she has told me how to rear my children, and told me what they did and didn't do, and what they did wrong, and so forth. So I don't know. It hit the button that time.
Yeah.
And I apologized to Glenn about it later, Brother Glenn, and he said, Nora, if you hadn't have settled her down, I was going to have to step in. Said she had just gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
And he said I was tired of her saying what should be done, what shouldn't be done. So it was kind of touchy there, but
Have things settled down since then?
yep.
Good. Now, which one of these streets did we turn on to go to where the house was?
Well, I'll tell you what, I may have let you go too far.
All right.
Now, we will take a right turn here somewhere, and I'll recover this thing.
All right, let me turn right here.
Mm-hmm. Are you recording all this?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Lord, I shouldn't have told that.
Nana, it's quite all right.
I've got a sister who's already telling me everything to do with my daughter, so I know.
This is not about dirty laundry, and I do not feel like you were sitting here gossiping or saying anything bad. It's this is something that will be interesting to look back on in later times.
Well, I don't know.
Wouldn't you say Marie's already given me all kinds of advice in just 4 short weeks?
Oh, yes.
Now I will show you a house that your grandfather and I lived in, if you don't go too fast.
Okay.
I believe you might have gone past it, I don't know. But anyway, we have to go back up this way.
Turn right? Okay.
Yeah. And I think, let's see, that was, I think we'll get down here now, right soon. Listen to that. she's so cute.
Mm-hmm. Isn't she precious?
And what she's doing's not real cute, though.
Oh,
I'm hearing some fireworks in that
Yeah.
diaper.
well, that's all right. She needs
That's what
to.
you need, baby.
Yeah, she needs to do. I think we have to go down maybe on, let's see, the next street before long. Let's get up here just a little further. I'll let you go down here too far. Oh. I think this is a pretty house there. I like that.
You want me to just keep going straight?
I think.
I'm gonna pull over and let
So
this
that
truck
would
go
be
past.
7th and 6th.
Mm-hmm. Truck
Okay.
go back 'cause he's gonna be in a hurry.
We'll see pretty soon where we go. I'm looking for some landmarks here. Now I think,
There's a Pierce Elementary School.
yeah, you can go to the left here. You're right. Yep. Go right down here across the railroad track. Where that house was that we lived in when we first moved to Bay City. And I think the house is still there. I am not positive, but I think it is. I think so.
Were you ever put to work in the rice fields or in the rice farming anywhere?
No.
I guess that was considered improper for a woman to do that, or?
Well, I didn't ever have to do that. The people by the name of Rose used to live there. Oh, that big old 2-story house is gone. It was right on this corner. Yeah, because we're right across the street from this one. It was a big 2-story house right there. See?
That's where you used to live?
And it's gone.
Where these little
When we
buildings?
first moved there, no, there's nothing there that was there.
None but a
And this was
little
people
building
by-
now.
This was people by the name of Porter that lived here. That was a nice house. We used to sit on the swing out there at night and tell ghost stories. Then be too scared to walk back across the street.
Just this far across the street, huh?
Yeah. Oh, we were scared to death. Glenn and I would just run. Absolutely run across the street.
They certainly did do a good job of removing the house, didn't they?
Yep. We could just turn around here.
Okay.
And then we can go back and I can find the house that Lawrence and I owned when Glenn was born.
All right.
I believe you're gonna have to, I don't know, but I think you're gonna have to turn around. I don't think we go back across the railroad track on this street unless I'm wrong. Yeah, you can go across the railroad track
Which would be which way?
that way.
Okay.
I just didn't know they had this street. It didn't used to go across the track. But this is the track that ran from the valley to Houston, and this is the railroad that I rode when I'd go up to see the girl, Nola and Eve, when they were working in Houston.
Oh, you took the train to Houston.
Mhm.
I guess that was probably about the fastest, efficient way then.
Mhm.
Did you have any brothers or just sisters?
I had 2 brothers. I have a brother that's 3 years older than me. We'll go and look and see, and I think I can find the street. I think it's 5th Street that we had our home on, I believe. Yeah. Going down.
Which isn't too far from where. So, how old were you when you married Granddaddy?
21.
And had y'all already? This fellow's not. Had y'all already? Had HI already moved into that house that I can remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because that's where I was. You know, take a right here.
Okay.
I hope I'm not down too far. see the house.
Did y'all buy this house or just rent it?
No, Lawrence's daddy owned the lot. He bought a number of lots here and built some houses, rent houses, during the war.
So
this was the house right here. That's the house that we were living in when Glenn was born.
Okay, 2808 5th Street.
And then this house was, the house on the corner was one Mr. Wearden built. And doctors from Camp Hewlin usually lived in his houses because they were 3-bedroom and they're pretty nice houses too. And then Percy Middlebrook built this house.
Middlebrook, any relation to Don?
Don's dad.
Oh, okay.
Mary Claire's husband. Yeah, they were my neighbors right next door.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, for a while, yeah.
That's interesting.
Now turn to the right and I'll show you.
Janice just met Don Middlebrook a couple of weeks ago.
When you all were down, yeah.
Yeah, we came driving through Wharton and...
Yeah, Dad had, this was a rent house of Dad's. This was a rent house of Dad's.
Well, he had some good income coming in then from rent houses.
And then you take a right here. And yeah, and they were the great houses that he could get good renters, see. They, in fact, people stood in line for them. But when they had Camp Hewlin down there. And then this was another rent house here. They let it go down quite a bit. And then this was the last one that Mimo had that she sold. Yeah.
Okay, now which street do I go to get to H.I.'s house?
All right, we'll go down. Let's see. I believe it'll take a right here.
Okay. Is it off of Elm Street?
No, it'll be Cottonwood. Maybe I've gotten you down too far or not down far enough. I don't remember which.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Where did you and Granddaddy move after y'all lived there on 5th Street?
We moved to see, now this is different. So you're going to have to go down a block. I believe you go down a block, if I'm not mistaken, to hit Cottonwood. We moved to Cuero.
Where in the world is Cuero?
We didn't stay very long. Now turn left, turn right. That's Live Oak, but we're going to have to go back probably to get to Cottonwood.
You go through Cuero on the way to Gonzales when you're coming from Kingsville.
Yeah.
What was in Cuero?
It was one of the branches of the Gross Wearden Company.
Okay.
All right, now you will have to turn back a block. See, HEB's messed up the deal there.
Yeah, in the middle there.
Yeah.
Cuero is Turkey country.
Yeah. It's also German people.
Take a left turn?
No, now I don't know if this is Cottonwood or not. I don't see a sign. No, I think. No, there's a building right in the middle of it now.
Oh, it looks like a school.
I think this is. I can't see a street sign.
They don't have any.
Yeah, there is. Over there. What's it say?
Sycamore Street.
Well.
There's the little house up there where Nora May used to live and rent out.
Yeah, that's where she worked.
Oh.
Go down underneath it.
All right. So do you want me to go down some more?
No, I think we're going too far.
Now, didn't y'all have a windmill in the back there for pumping water? The house on Cottonwood Street?
No, I don't believe it was a windmill.
There's some sort of...
I think you'll turn down that way and we'll find where we're going.
There's a tall metal structure we were told not to climb, and it sure looked like a windmill.
Well, that was, I think that was Daddy's big thing for getting the television.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, now go on. We'll have to go on down.
You must have been serious about some TV reception then.
Yeah, it was. Well, this is...
It's Cherry Elementary.
Yeah, this is where I went to school, to high school, and graduated here.
Oh, really?
But it wasn't called Cherry.
Did it already have that type of look?
No.
Because that looks like some awful new.
That's been redone.
I'll say, I thought it was brand new. Was it called Cherry then?
This is Cottonwood, I believe.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yep.
So that was a high
down.
school then?
Yeah, but actually this here was not grounds like this. This was where my high school was.
Okay.
We got over here.
I was at the corner of Cottonwood and 8th. Cottonwood and 8th.
And we played tennis across on here. You see, I didn't have far to walk to school.
No, you sure didn't, because I can see the house from here. I have a lot of neat memories of here. The breezeway was always our thing. That was our fascination. Was to go into the breezeway and...
And right on this corner, right in this house, people by the name of Head lived here. And he always wanted a boy. And when she was born, she was a girl.
Okay.
And so he always dressed her in overalls. And I don't know if he made a lesbian out of her or not, but I'll tell you, she never did date or anything.
She was about as tomboy as they came.
Yeah.
That's sad.
And Gross Wearden Company used to have this. This was a wholesale grocers. After we moved away from here, they moved out to here.
Yeah.
After Lawrence and I moved. They go on and...
Is Gross Wearden still in business at all as a company?
No, well, yes, just in Victoria, but they're under a different name. I don't believe you see trucks anymore. Gross Wearden Company trucks. Now this was my parents' home up there, blocked the end of the street.
Sure looks different.
Yeah, it does look different. They have not been taking the care of it that they should have been taking.
No, they sure had. They've let it run down quite a bit.
And this was my brother Glenn's home with the picket fence and the house right here.
I was going to ask if he had... It seemed like I remember him
It's
having a
his
house
rent
there.
property now. He rents it out. No, and they've jammed a house right up against it over there, see?
They sure did. Didn't there used to be...
And the garage used to be over there. No, the garage was here, then the breezeway. Daddy changed it, yeah.
And didn't there
but
used
that
to...
was Grandma's room over on the east.
And didn't there used to be like a little something on top? It was like an artificial patio that you really couldn't get on, but it was for looks.
It was just a little, you know, stood up about this high, like a little fence, kind of on top of the porch.
Right. They certainly have changed that up considerably.
I spent many an hour sitting on that porch when I was a kid in high school. You know how you sit out and dream at night of what you're going to do?
And I could still see the tall metal tower back there. Well, I would not have recognized the house now. I'm glad that I came
People
with
look
you.
like they keep house like my sister. They still have their Christmas lights up.
Boy, if things change. And I remember coming, I believe there's a little store. It's either here or next one over.
Go down this way.
And there's a little store I walked to and got Susie some Napoleon and some Rocky Road ice cream.
It was more than a little store. It was Stanley's store, honey.
Oh, was it
Stanley's is a big chain store now, and this is where it started, but it burned practically to the ground one night.
I'd say there's not much there now.
They still have Stanley stores, but they also have Price Low.
Oh, Stanley is...
Yeah, they have Price Low. It's one branch out from Stanley. Yeah.
Okay.
But the Stanley's stores, the first store, started here in Bay City, and that was not it. It was down on 7th Street. The first store was on 7th.
No, the only areas I've ever seen Stanley is from Matagorda and Bay City, and I've never really seen them anywhere else.
But it's in El Campo. It's up the country. It's in Brenham. It's just they're just scattered out now. They've really got a chain of stores.
So where did you and Granddaddy move after you moved to Cuero?
then from Cuero, we moved to Beeville.
And is Beeville also part of the Gross Wearden business?
Uh-huh, yeah. And then from Beeville, we moved to Victoria.
Okay.
And from Victoria, we moved to Glen Flora.
Okay. And what year did y'all move to Glen Flora?
1945.
Okay, 5 years after Mom was born.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else in Bay City?
July of 45.
Okay. Anything else in Bay City that's worth looking at, or anything that you can think of memory-wise?
I don't think so. They've changed the schools and built another big post office, and they have the museum in that post office and all those kind of things. So
Right.
not really. The cemetery where my daddy's buried and my mother's buried and Susie's buried is on up here.
All right, let's go do that right quick. I've never been there.
You may not have been. I just don't know.
If I have, I don't recall.
Well, you probably were at. Let's see. Would you have been at Grandpa's funeral? I don't know if you all came back for that funeral or not.
I believe I was. I want to say so.
It was in '79. See, my daddy died in February of '79, and then here you take a left here, and then a right. Excuse me. I pointed. In other words, the right direction.
Well, there wasn't any other way to turn.
Yeah, and anyway, then Susie died the last part of July, and then Lawrence died in August, and then Gerald Obenhouse died in September, about 3 weeks after he helped carry Lawrence. He was a pallbearer. He died. I'll tell you, it was a bad year. '79 was.
Yeah. It's a year we moved to Midland. I didn't like it, that's for sure.
No, you moved in '78.
Was it '78 we moved?
1978.
October.
Because
November.
Lawrence was alive then. You all moved just before Thanksgiving. Yeah, we moved just not long before Thanksgiving in '78. Now you'll go in these first gates here.
Okay.
Now Glenn's wife Nellie is buried here, and Mama, Daddy, and Susie.
All right.
And Eve gets so upset because all that's on Mama's marker says Ann White, and she said it should be Georgia Ann McDaniel White. Well, of course, I guess that's right. I don't know.
You're going to have to kind of guide me to the area. Well,
It's right on this side. It'll be down nearly to the end.
Doesn't do much good to get upset at this point.
No, unless she wants to just pay for a different stone. Which she says she's going to do someday. Well, what makes a difference one way or the other? But she said there's a lot of history that can be traced in the cemeteries. It'll be this stone right here, Robert.
This white one?
Mm-hmm. It says white on it.
Yeah, it sure does. We'll hop out real quick.
Has a
Masonic
Masonic
locks.
lock. With exception unless you want to go to Glen Flora. That's Aaron Isaac.
Yeah. Grandpa H.I.
Yeah. And this is Ann. And there's Susie. And we did it right. The Susie. We had Susie Hoffman White.
Mm-hmm.
July the 13th, 1979.
Is there anyone else in the cemetery that's... Have any family buried in Blessing?
Not right in Blessing, no. In fact, Palacios is a place that sometime we should go to. the cemetery in Palacios is where my daddy's mother was buried.
Okay.
And then Eve had her first child died. Her first child is buried there, a little baby born. They never could get him to live. And then Grandpa White is buried there. And of course, Daddy's mother's name was Eveline Vitteline.
Eveline Vitteline?
Very French.
That's quite a name, let me tell you.
And then Grandma Sadie White is buried on the other side of Grandpa. And then there's some other family members, Uncle John and their daughter that died pretty young, and there's quite a few other family there. So.
Okay. Well, our next trip will be planned to Palacios.
And I don't like that cemetery. I said, my gosh, I said, not me.
Why not?
Oh, the wind just blows over it. The trees are bent over from the wind and everything. No, it's the most bare, I don't know, it's just a terrible place to me. And another thing, I used to go down there to so many funerals when I was a kid.
Oh.
We were always drug along to the funerals. And then every Memorial Day, Mother did not miss a Memorial Day of going to Palacios and putting flowers on the grave. That was just a very much of a ritual to go and put flowers on the graves on Memorial Day.
Okay, and that was the graves of her
30th,
parents?
30th of May. I guess the only time Mother ever missed was when my little brother Jack was born on Memorial Day. And she couldn't go, of course.
Granddaddy had a box of papers, letters, goodies that Patrick now has in possession. Patrick told me about the family lineage, and I heard about that, a few years back, and I cannot recall what he told me. I guess the bottom line was that we were from England.
That's the Weardens, yeah.
Okay, do you know anything about the Whites?
Yeah, it went into the Luther family, and of course, Grandma, Daddy's mother, was a Goodrow. That was her name.
A Goodrow?
Goodreau.
Okay.
And her mother's name was Boudreau.
Boudreau.
Before she married the Goodrow.
Okay, so she just changed one letter of her name then.
And they were from up in Illinois and further east, and in fact they were Canadian French. I think that they came from. They were Canadian French is what they were.
Okay.
That old boy needs a new flag over there.
Oh.
He's got a Texas flag.
Do you want, Nana, you want some coffee, or
No.
are you sure? Would you like a soda of some kind?
How do I get it to turn on?
Push the button again. Would you like a...
I never. And then at Glen Flora, well, I didn't milk, and Lawrence did, so that's the way it went there.
So y'all had milk cows out there for a while?
Oh yeah. We had Daisy was her name. Your mother's got the painting of Daisy.
Yeah.
The cow without any horns.
Yeah. I didn't know that was actually one of your cows.
Oh yes. Betty Bozarth got up that close to her and painted her. She was taking art at the junior college, and she painted. And she needed money at the time, and so Lawrence said she had painted a picture of their dog Muggs. He said, "I'll tell you what, Betty, if you can paint a good picture of Daisy," he said, "I'll pay you." But we told her $20. Well, back in 1949, $20 was a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
Picture show money and so forth. So she painted, and Daisy, she got so close that Daisy drooled on the easel.
Do I get the feeling that Daisy might have been a spoiled cow?
She was. And Glenn milked her part of the time. And then when Glenn went off to St. Mary's, he came home and he had been so homesick at college. And he came home at Thanksgiving time. It was the first time he came home. And he was looking around, walking around. And I said, Glenn, walk out in the backyard and holler at Daisy. He said, oh, she won't know me. And so he walked out in the backyard and called her name. She raised her head up and she said, you know, at him. He turned around and came back into the house and he said, I'm not going back to school. I'm just not going back to school. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't leave.
Even the animals loved him.
I said, yes, you're going back to school. I said, you're going to get your education. So there's a module. That's what they put the cotton in.
Okay. Sure is different from the way they used to do it.
Surely is, I'm telling you.
Cotton trailers.
And we were laughing and talking the other day about good-looking women in shorts, you know, working out in the field.
Yeah.
And so we were all thinking about this August Washing's wife, Margaret. And you talk about a good-looking woman she was, and beautiful legs, and Travis Smith said that was the best-looking woman that he ever taught tennis to. But anyway, she decided that she couldn't stand August any longer, and she was going to leave him and get a divorce. So anyhow, she told him that. He said, and it was about in the middle of the summer, and he said, oh, please don't. He said, who's going to trump my cotton? That's what he was worried about, was who's going to trump his cotton.
She must have had a lot of value in his eyes.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, when she'd come up to the gin with a trailer of cotton and crawl out of the cab of the truck and stand around while they weighed the truck and the cotton, the guys up on the platform where they were having to, you know, tag the cotton and roll it and everything, and press it. Robert Williams used to say, well, I was afraid those fools were going to get their hand in a press, and they just hang with their mouth open, watching her.
Did y'all have any other animals growing up besides just a milk cow?
Yeah, I had a horse. We had a horse, and they called him Old Gray. He was really white.
Really?
And he was a pretty good horse, especially if we kept him, he worked enough, you know, if we rode him enough.
Right.
But he'd get kind of ornery if you didn't ride him enough. And he had a habit. He was brought up and trained on a ranch. And if you would forget about this trait or didn't know about it, and you lean up and put your hands, just put a hand down on his withers, you know, the part of him just above the saddle, you slap your hand down there.
Right.
He planted those 4 feet, and if you weren't prepared or didn't know what was going to happen, you could go out over his head.
He'd buck?
Yeah, I had a horse. We had a horse, and they called him Old Gray. He was really white.
Really?
And he was a pretty good horse, especially if we kept him, he worked enough, you know, if we rode him enough.
Right.
But he'd get kind of ornery if you didn't ride him enough. And he had a habit. He was brought up and trained on a ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would forget about this trait or didn't know about it, and you lean up and put your hands, just put a hand down on his withers, you know, the part of him just above the saddle, you slap your hand down there.
Right.
He planted those 4 feet, and if you weren't prepared or didn't know what was going to happen, you could go out over his head.
He'd buck.
He did this because they used to rope off of him.
Oh.
And they'd slap him. That was the signal. They slap him and he'd plant his feet for him to rope this animal. And he set his feet so they couldn't pull loose when they got the rope off.
I got you. Did you ever ride Old Gray?
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine you up on a horse.
And I was riding him with this girlfriend of mine behind me.
Uh-huh.
And let's see, was she behind or I was behind? But anyway, I believe she was in front. And we started down a canal bank, and there was I think really that there was a yellow jacket or something bit him, and he kind of bucked, and she threw her hand down there on the side, and he just planted like that, and we both went off. And it broke her collarbone and broke her arm up here.
Ooh.
And it was a bad break. And so her father worked for Texas Gulf Sulphur Company,
Uh-huh.
and they still had the planting operation down at Old Gulf.
Yeah.
So she went to the hospital down at Old Gulf. Used to be the Texas Gulf Hospital was down there.
That must have been a pretty big place at one time.
It was. And anyway, they let her stay in the hospital. It was over a weekend. It was about 5 days before they operated on her arm.
Oh, no kidding.
And set it, and then I think they had to wire it. That bone had to wire that bone.
Hmm.
Those people in that brick house back there, their son was playing Russian roulette about 2 weeks ago and killed himself.
So, do the Chillicks still live there?
Uh-huh. Sure do.
I sure have let that house, the LST sells or whatever.
Oh, it's terrible.
Junk, solid junk.
He just started, you know, he told Nola he wanted to raise horses there.
Yeah.
Shoot. He started moving those little junky cars in before long. I don't think he ever had any horses there. Not at all, I don't think.
What was the first house y'all lived in that had indoor plumbing?
Well, it was the one there in Bay City.
On Cottonwood Street?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that wasn't for quite a while. We built the bathroom and we put a lavatory and we put a bathtub in. But we didn't have the commode hooked in. We didn't have a commode, didn't have it hooked up. And we didn't have a hot water heater. And I would heat water if Glenn had a date. I would heat water for him and take it and pour it in the bathtub. And then he could take his bath. And he used to do things for me. I used to shine his shoes for him, fix his bath water and all this kind of stuff. Then he'd do some things for me too.
At what point did y'all finally have electricity, or did you always have that you remember?
We had electricity, yeah. We had electricity.
Made it out that far by 1917.
No, not 1917.
Well, because
we didn't have electricity in Blessing, I don't believe.
okay.
We had these lamps that had what you call mantles on them.
Right.
And they were burned by
lanterns.
Well, no, they were lamps, and you had kerosene. There were kerosene lamps, but they also had what they call mantles that put out a nice, pretty blue light. But if you happened to have the misfortune to touch that mantle after it had been burned, it just disintegrated. Yeah. And they weren't cheap.
I bet not.
Now some of them, let's see, how would that have been? Now was those operated, do you think, by kerosene, the ones where you had a little pump where you built up the pressure in them, you pumped up pressure to make the light be brighter?
You're asking the wrong person.
I don't know. I've got to ask Arthur about that. Because I can't remember what that was in there. But I remember so well that Grandpa had a little pump. It was about that long. And he would stick it down in the lamp, in the tank of the lamp, and pump it several times, and it'd get brighter. But there were some beautiful lamps. In fact, I've got, I think, one real pretty lamp up on top of that big china cabinet that I got from Sister Nola.
There's a picture on the wall there at y'all's house. It's you three sisters and then one other lady. Is that your mom or Susie or?
Oh, sitting there, there in the yard, that was my mother.
Okay. And where'd y'all live at that time?
In the same house there, on Cottonwood.
On Cottonwood, okay.
Tommy is buying this house here on the corner. He's going to fix it up for a home.
Oh, really?
Right
that little
here.
one right there?
Yeah.
Very good.
Arthur just bought it about a month ago, I think, something like that, maybe a month and a half ago. And Tommy, it was helping him work on it. And they got to talking about it. And it has a fairly good sized lot. So Tommy's going to move the Airstream trailer in there and hook into the electricity and the sewerage and everything while he's working on the house. He's going to live in the trailer. That's where he's living anyway now. I want to show you something that I kind of like on this house right here where all these pickups are parked. That was just a blank wall there. It was just a door going in. And see what they've done? They've built out that little porch there and then put those little side deals on the... And I think it makes it kind of attractive. The entrance was just a door just going in.
Oh, it does look a lot better.
Yeah, that looks a lot better as far as I'm concerned.
Totally off the subject.
Yeah.
You know how when there's been major events or something very significant in history that happened, everybody can basically remember the day or what they were doing at that time? I was going to throw some of those out at you. Where were you when John F. Kennedy was shot?
I was working in the office at our old feed mill, that in Glen, Florida, that little office.
Okay.
And we were getting ready. We were going to leave and go up and see Tommy. Tommy was at St. Edward's in Austin, going to school at St. Edward's in Austin. And so we were going to leave. This was on, I think he was shot on a Friday, I'm not sure. But we were going to leave and go anyway. We went up to Austin for the weekend. And we were sitting we stayed at the Villa Capri Motel that night. And we were over having kind of a brunch at the Villa Capri restaurant and watching television, and it showed what's his name that shot Kennedy?
Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah, it showed him coming through, the law taking him through kind of a basement area, and Ribby shot him. It showed him falling.
Yeah.
We saw it on television when it happened.
And where were you when, or what were you doing, or where were you when you heard about your brother Jack, that he had died and gotten killed?
Well, we lived in Victoria at the time, and Mother called me.
Okay.
First we got a telegram that said he was seriously wounded in action,
Mm-hmm.
and that they would let us know further, hear from us far. You know, they had taken him to the field hospital.
Right.
So, but it was very strange. Wu Fang, this chow dog, laid on the front porch, and it would have been that same when this happened. Laid on the front porch, and he would just put his head up into the air and just howl and howl.
Hmm.
And Mama said, "I'll tell you, the cold chills were just going all over my body." And she said it was the next morning we received the telegram that he was wounded in action, seriously wounded in action. And then the telegram that followed said that he had died.
Hmm.
But we always doubted that he was taken to the field hospital. We think he was killed outright, and they were just trying to make it a little easier.
Right, rather than just a blunt telegram
Yeah.
out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him doing that.
And Mama thinks it was when Wu Fang was howling so. She said he had never done that before.
Well, it's possible.
And they do claim that about dogs sometimes. That they have this instinct that tells them this. So I don't know. I tell you, the ferns are about to take us. We plant ferns and they just grow and grow and grow. It's like that one is up there, so big in the plant.